Sob Rock is the latest and the 8th album specifically by singer-songwriter, guitarist John Mayer. This just came out in July and has actually had recordings going all the way back to 2017. So really like for about 4 years now, he's been recording this thing. And I actually really like John Mayer. I feel that he is underrated, not only as a musician, but also as a songwriter and as just an artist in general. You know, I can definitely admit that some of his music is very cheesy and corny. Obviously you have Your Body is a Wonderland or Daughters. But I think most people just hear those songs and think like, oh, it's just a cheesy pop rock artist. Like, okay, there's not much else there. But he really is a lot more than that. He's an amazing guitar player, taking a lot of influences from other blues guitarists such as Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, and I think he has a decent voice, and I like his music overall. I feel like his music is pretty underrated. So I was excited to check this thing out. I was figuring it would just kind of be another one of those albums that would be a throwback to the 80s, because one, that's what like almost every artist is doing nowadays, and two, the single that came out in June, Last Train Home, was very reminiscent of the song Africa by Toto. But even beyond that, it just sounded very much like some kind of 80s pop rock song that would have come out during that time and had been a big hit. But it actually wasn't quite as 80s influenced as I thought it would be. There's definitely some more of that in here with some of the other tracks. For the most part, it's kind of just a typical soft rock album with some blues influence, some pop influence in there for sure. And I mean that in a good way, by the way. Whenever I say typical, I just mean a familiar genre for him. The album opens with the song Last Train Home, which I just briefly talked about. I really like this song. It's super catchy. It has a very bouncy kind of feeling to it, especially with the drums as well. Also very 80s influence. I think there are some really nice guitar leads in this song. Really throughout the song, John just keeps teasing us. Like, it sounds like he's about to break down into this big solo, and I wish he did, but at the same time what we got I think was really nice. I also do like the vocals in this song, and we get some guest vocals from the famous country singer Maren Morris. We then go to the next track, Shouldn't Matter But It Does, which immediately takes a much more serious tone. It's a lot slower. John's vocals sound pretty sad throughout the song, and I do like what John is talking about here. He's basically just writing about a failed relationship and what should have been done differently from both sides and what could have been done to save this relationship, which, I mean, you could argue that is kind of a generic thing to write about, but I think here he does a pretty good job at making it interesting and not too boring. And the instrumental that accompanies it, I think, is very fitting. The third track on this album is the song New Light, which was originally released as a single back in, I believe, 2018, which is crazy. Like, I remember listening to that song when it came out. It feels like a long time ago when that came out. But alas, it's on this album, and it's certainly a welcome track because I do like it. It is just a super chill song. I really like the addition of the keys that play every so often, like between verses. I do like John's vocals. They are also very chill, although there are a couple moments when he tries to hit these high notes and he doesn't quite stick the landing there. And I love the kind of instrumental breakdown that happens right after the 2-minute mark. It's super cool, super funky, and then we get a nice solo after that. And then the song Why You Know Love Me is, in my opinion, the first dud on this record. I really find the chorus to the song to be very dumbed down and extremely cheesy in all the wrong ways. This song I just found to be very basic and just, yeah, like I said, very cheesy. Like, you could have added a really prominent synth part in this song and it would have sounded like any other cheesy pop song that came out in the 80s.
Why you know love me? Why you know love me? I'm never gonna let you go. I'm gonna hold you in my arms forever.
And there's a solo in this one as well, and it's okay, but it's kind of out of place, really, with the song as a whole. The album picks up momentum, though, with the next track, Wild Blue, which is yet another super chill song. We actually get a couple solos in this one, if I'm remembering correctly, and they're both very nice. I do also really like the drum fills in this one. They're very catchy. And the whole track really sounded like just a slowed down version of Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits. The next track, Shot in the Dark, is good, but first of all, I just want to say I don't know why there are several popular songs called Shot in the Dark. I mean, it's not exactly a generic title like Photograph or something, but yet there are like multiple songs I can think of by popular artists that are called Shot in the Dark. You got the Ozzy Osbourne one, which came out in the 80s, or AC/DC just put out a new song last year called Shot in the Dark. So I'm not sure why that's such a like familiar title with certain artists, but it is for some reason. But this was another good track, and it's one that made me think a little bit at a certain part when he says, "I've loved 7 other women." I don't know if everyone knows this, but he claims to have only been with 6 women in his life. Like a few years ago he said that, because there was this rumor that went around that he had been with like 500 women or something like that, and then he just clarified it and kind of corrected that and said like, no, my number is 6. So I'm wondering, it's 7 now. Is it another lover, or is it someone in his family that he loves? I don't know. It makes me think. That's all I'm saying. But with regards to the actual music in this one, I really like how it kind of picks up the pace at 2:30. The drums become much more prominent and loud in the mix. And I thought that the end of the song was just really great. Like the last minute to a minute and a half, it just kept adding different layers and different instruments into the mix, and we get some good vocal harmonies as well. The conclusion of it all I thought was very cool and very well done. The track I guess I just feel like is the second one on here that I didn't care for too much. The lyrics in this song and the way he delivers them kind of made me cringe, if I'm being honest. And I felt that the instrumental was kind of too upbeat for what he's talking about here. You know, like some of the things he's saying here, I guess I just feel like good things are gone and the weight of my worries are too much to take on. You know, it's kind of a serious subject matter. You know, it's definitely not something that's happy and joyful, and the music really supports it as it is very happy and joyful, and those two contrasting tones I feel like really don't fit well and make the song feel very uneven to me. Of course, there are instances where that can be done well. Those two contrasting tones can fuse together well and effectively, but this song just didn't do it for me. And John also does try to hit some high notes in this one, and they also don't land very well. I like the song Till the Right One Comes. It was just another very catchy and very chill song, and some good synths in this one that sound straight out of like Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics. Carry Me Away made me pretty nervous at first because I heard some synthesized drums, and so I was like, John, what are you doing? What's going on? But then thankfully after 30 to 40 seconds or whatever, you hear some real instruments in there, and it sounds more along the lines of a John Mayer song. And this one does do a good job at fusing the lyrics and the music together, unlike I Guess I Just Feel Like did, because it is a very happy sounding song and lyrically also very positive and upbeat. And then the last track, All I Want Is to Be With You, experiments with some country sounds. John sings in a much more lower register in this one than we're used to hearing him sing. While the song wasn't bad, I found it to be somewhat lifeless. Like it kind of just dragged on for about 4 minutes, and it was very slow and just not too exciting really, other than certain moments when we hear these kind of marching drums playing and these belted out vocals in the background. For the most part, it was just very slow, and I don't know if lifeless is the right word. I just don't think there was quite enough energy that I think the last track in this album needed. And the lyrics I think were kind of bland as well, not really too much to brag about. But all in all, I thought this was a very solid album. It was a very relaxing listen and very chill, like I've said already several times in this video. And it kind of did remind me of the album Room for Squares in that way. There are a few tracks on here that I don't really care for and I don't need to revisit in the future, but I did like and enjoy most of what I heard from this thing. The vocals were solid and the music was solid as well. All in all, just a good John Mayer album, and I'm gonna give Sob Rock a B. So let me guys know what you think about this album, if you have heard it, or what are some of your favorite John Mayer albums slash songs. Hey guys, I'm not really sure how this happened, but my camera stopped recording right as I was wrapping up the review. And I did actually re-record the end of that video, but it got lost somehow. I'm also not sure how that happened. But basically all that I had left to say was just to let me know what some of your favorite tracks are from the album, if you have heard it, of course. But that's all I got. Thank you again for watching, and peace out.